Hi, this is Randy Embry with Elder Spirit Herbals. We're starting our very first online herbal basics module looking at the alternatives category of herbs, the ones that we want to use when we really want to make a change, not affecting generally a specific area of our body, but sort of an overall body cure. Alternatives used to be called, as you know, blood cleansers. Now we're not looking at it like that. We're looking at we want to make a change. Burdock, the Arctium species, is in the Asteraceae plant family. There are so many beneficial and useful plants in that category, I hardly know where to begin. Burdock is actually a biennial, and there are a couple of species growing here, Arctium lapa and Arctium minus, and probably you'll be dealing mostly with Arctium minus. It grows widely in fields and along the edges of forests where the soil is rich, sometimes even when the soil is really rocky, and it's very, very hard then to get it out of the ground. I'll be showing you a video of Aaron digging up a burdock here for you very soon. The identifying characteristics that you want to look for when you're looking for burdock out in the field when you're wildcrafting, the first year it produces just a basil leaves. It doesn't have a stem on it yet, and they die down in the winter, so you'll be wanting to look for it fairly soon before the frost starts if you're here in my area of the world. It has a solid grooved stem that's up to 2 meters, so it can be really big. The first time I saw burdock growing in the wild, I thought it was actually rhubarb. But of course, the color of it was different, but the leaf looks very, very similar to rhubarb. The leaves, they're alternate on the plant, they're stalked, and they're ovate, sort of egg-shaped, and they're dull green on the bottom and really kind of slightly hairy and whitish underneath. And the bottom leaves, the ones that first start out, are really shaped pretty much like broadleaf dock, like yellow dock. That's, I think, maybe where the name comes from. The flowers look really similar to thistle flower, and they're kind of a reddish purple tubular floret. The bees absolutely love them. And they're surrounded by these narrow green hooked bracts. And then the fruit, the mature seed heads, are spherical burrs that adhere to everything. Seriously, they do. We have sheep, and when the sheep get out among them, they're almost as bad as horehound. But they'll stick to your clothing, everything. Your socks will be full of them. I've heard that that's the idea of, somebody got the idea for making Velcro, actually from burdock. The root is really, really a deep, deep root, and it's black on the outside and it's white internally. And it's very, very long, and it's in a real cylinder, kind of like almost more like to the tune of daikon radish, cylindrical like that, and very, very mucilaginous. The flavor of it too is very sweet and mucilaginous. It gets bitter if it's exposed to the air for very long. It doesn't really seem to have much of an odor, not a really strong medicinal odor anyway, like yellow dock. When you get a hold of that and you smell that root, you know that that's medicine. And the parts of it that are used are, for the first year's growth, is the roots, and then leaves and seeds for the second year, and the stalk. And the root is the part that has the most powerful alterative properties. So you'd want to dig the root in the before the stem begins to grow in late autumn, for the first year's root. You can use 2-year-old roots too if you want, but they're really not quite as potent. So you want to dig those in the late autumn or early spring. And it's interesting to note that in China, the roots are dug and then aged for 2 years before using. It's said to increase the medicinal potency. I've never tried that, but the one thing that I can tell you, because the root is kind of thick, to make sure that you dry it very, very carefully and as quickly as possible, because if you don't do that, and especially in the wintertime or the late fall when you're harvesting, it's very easy to get mold. Most people don't bother trying to cultivate burdock. It's considered a noxious weed in a lot of places, and it does spread rapidly. For some of it, that's really a good thing. But if you have a little suburban yard or something, it could, tick the neighbors off. It's grown from seed, and it likes light but deep soil where the roots can penetrate. Burdock constituents, burdock has been shown to have antiseptic properties. It contains a bitter glycoside principle called arctein and another bitter principle called lapin. It has inulin, and that's a polysaccharide. Do not confuse that with insulin, but it is useful for diabetics who have hypoglycemia, or for folks who have hypoglycemia. It has a central nervous system stimulant and flavonoids, which are helpful for our eyesight and our connective tissues and that sort of thing. Mucilage, resin, volatile oils, lactones. When you think about lactones, normally you think about the kava lactones in kava, but Arctium burdock doesn't have those psychological relaxant properties at all that I know of. It has tannin and an unnamed antimicrobial substance, and it's also really abundant in vitamin C and enzymes. Burdock can be used as an alterative when you want to make a change in your body, an antibiotic, an anti-inflammatory, and anti-neoplastic, which means that it's active against some cancers, or it is thought to have been. It's a part of Nurse Case's ESSIAC formula. Antiscorbutic, anti-rheumatic, antiseptic, antiviral, aperient, which means it helps to stimulate appetite. It's demulcent, and so that means that it's soothing on internally. The term demulcent is used for things that are soothing internally, and emollient is like in your face lotion, something that's soothing externally. It's depurative, which means that it helps get rid of infection in wounds and that sort of thing. It's diuretic, really a good diuretic for folks who have high blood pressure, and in combination with dandelion. It's a stomachic, which means that it's soothing to the stomach. It's tonic, and that means a lot of different things. We'll talk about tonics as a whole separate category, but those things are usually just used to when you need that little bit of a boost. And it's a vulnerary, which means that it's a great herb for wounds. Its medical uses the roots are prescribed widely by herbalists for all sorts of skin diseases, such as eczema, psoriasis, and dermatitis. The antiseptic property is due to the lactones that we talked about earlier, and the unnamed antimicrobial property that seems to have a really great specific action against Staphylococcus, which does make it really a valuable remedy for boils and acne eruptions that have become infected and that sort of things. It's a valuable remedy too for cystitis due to the antimicrobial properties and that demulcent property, so it's really soothing as well as helping to clear up the infection. The presence of the nervous stimulant along with the bitter tonic action has made this a valuable treatment for anorexia nervosa. I've also had good luck using manzanita flower essence with a friend who had anorexia, and also with psychological counseling. She didn't just take a few drops of manzanita flower essence and then suddenly it was all better, but it was a help, I think. The inulin content in this makes it a useful treatment for hypoglycemia and diabetes. Complaints that can be addressed with burdock are abscesses, anorexia, bladder troubles, boils, burns, cancer, carbuncles. Catarrh means phlegm with your cold, too much, a lot of phlegm with cold. Colds, cystitis, dermatitis, diabetes, eczema, eruptions of the skin, fevers, hemorrhoids, hypoglycemia, gout, itchy skin, kidney troubles, pimples, psoriasis, rashes, rheumatism, skin troubles, sores, sciatica, and wounds. Oh, I feel like the announcer in a Greyhound bus station. It can be prepared as a decoction, which is a strong tea that's simmered for maybe 20 minutes with a lid on so that the volatile oils don't escape. Much stronger than just an ordinary social cup of tea. It can be an extract or a tincture. It can also be used as an infusion where it's just brought to the simmery point and not simmered for as long as a decoction. It can be powdered. All of the dosages that you would want to take of it you would want to take maybe 3 to 4 times a day. So if you had a decoction, you'd want to take maybe 6 tablespoons. A fluid extract, maybe a teaspoon. An infusion of it, you'd want to take maybe 10 tablespoons. A powder, maybe it's, so if you put it in a capsule, that would be a use that would use for powder. So a half to a teaspoon into a gelatin capsule. And a tincture, once again, probably maybe a full teaspoon. So you would maybe want to use this with yellow dock and red clover and dandelion for all different kinds of skin things. For fevers and colds, you'd want to combine it with ginger. And with that, you would really want to administer as a hot decoction. I learned in Stephen Booner's Herbal Antibiotic book that ginger is nearly as effective for coughs as codeine. I found I was skeptical, but you know that I've used it that way. And now if I have a flu or a bad chesty cold, I'll have it as a tea, but I'll also carry around some candied ginger in my pocket to use as a cough drop. It's highly effective and very, very safe. Bladder troubles, cystitis, kidney troubles, and rheumatism or arthritis, you can use either the extract, the tincture, or the decoction. All in all, this is really just a fabulous, one of those fabulous, great, weedy plants that we don't use probably enough. It's out there for us, really. It's food and medicine, and what could be better than letting your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. The Japanese actually use burdock root as a pickle and as a vegetable. So worldwide, it's a world traveler and a plant that you really ought to spend some time with and get to know. Spend a year getting to know burdock. I advise that. So I'm presenting you now here one formula that you can use, a burdock skin formula. So if you have itchy skin, or you have your boils or a friend has acne, you might go ahead and give this skin formula a try. Once again, thank you so much for becoming a part of Online Herbal Basics. I'm really excited to get this first module out. We'll be studying 4 more herbs as part of the Alteratives, and then we'll be looking at circulatory herbs. So this module will be studying burdock, garlic, plantain, red clover, and yellow dock, all easily accessible plants that you can usually walk outside and not go too far and find. So have a great rest of your day. Take good care. This is Randy.